Hey everybody, I'm the Stray Prophet, and today we have a video gameplay of Muriel in Paragon. Now, Muriel is one of the other supports in Paragon alongside Decker, and is fantastic whenever it comes to healing, shielding, and protecting both her lane partner and the rest of her team, because she does have global presence once she hits level 6. Now, this game with Muriel did go fantastic, I'd like to say. And you'll end up seeing a lot of the plays that were made here. I don't play Muriel that often, although I do support more than anything else. I usually play Decker in place of Muriel, but Muriel is still really strong, and her healing and shielding output is beyond words. Now, it looks like on their team they do have a Twin Blast, an Iggy Scorch, a Grux, so they already have a lot of damage potential straight out of the gate. They also have a Gideon and a Rampage, while we have a Muriel, a Sparrow, a Feng Mao, a Gadget, and a Gideon. So we don't really have a tank, but we do have a lot more damage output overall than they do, or a lot more potential for damage output, I should say. And we are going to be taking this white camp to start things off. Now, I wasn't aware that the Feng Mao wanted to go straight for the second white camp after we started the buff, so I ended up heading to lane after the fact. I didn't know if they were going to want to start red or not, but it looks like they did want to start white with their Q-Buddy Sparrow. So I did start with the bubble here, just because it does give everybody a shield, and it does some nice AoE damage, since the damage output for Muriel is pretty minimal, especially early on. Had to place that ward down there and get some coverage, and that ward is going to be quite the playmaker. And here I am just pegging away at the creeps, trying to get this wave pushed. Another reason that it's good to take the bubble is because you can shield both your lane partner and yourself and get that extra health regen. Now, Grux and Rampage are doing that oh so popular combo, both trying to come up into lane and thinking we're going to retreat, but I just went into travel mode and ran, and that worked easy enough. I get Grux caught out with the snare here, and we start just pegging away at him. I speed up and got Alacrity at level 2, and we just get him, and that's first blood. I did not mean to take that kill, but I thought he had a little bit more health than he did, and I accidentally picked up first blood, but that's just... I'll just pretend that was 100% intentional, and I'm carry Muriel this game. So that was a very good turnaround on the type of gank that they were doing. A lot of people who have Grux and Rampage on the same team like to have that two-person gank, and then go for it like that. But for some reason, they always seem to try the same thing where they run up behind and expect the person to retreat. But I ended up just going to travel mode and sprinting off there. Feng Mao did want some help with his red buff, so we're lending our assistance here. And that is a crisp level 3. I'm going to be putting a second point into my bubble here, because the slow, while useful, in my opinion, is not as strong as having that second level of shielding, because that level of shielding, especially at level 1, is not really strong enough to take, you know, a significant amount of damage, but the level 2 bonus does give it a little bit more beef to it, so that way it's a lot more useful as a shield. Now here come Grux and Rampage again, and they end up trying to stop off my escape once more. I actually ended up getting caught out here. I put my Alacrity, but I didn't put it on me. I managed to step over the Alacrity and get my shield off, and that speed boost managed to give me enough away from them so that way I could go into travel mode. So that was a really quick escape. And I was really happy I managed to get that, since that was really close. I just wanted to peg Grux a little bit here. I pick up the Alacrity again. I'm running out of mana really fast, but I'm trying to get as much pressure as I can. Right now, Twin Blast is not in the best position. I'm currently trying to get as much damage in on him as I can, but it is really difficult, and then I just help Feng Mao get out of there, because I'm out of mana, and when Muriel's out of mana, things are not very helpful. And Rampage is going for the rock here. I'm just trying to clear the wave and get to the card point level 9, because I really want to get that 6 points to spend, so I can kind of get more than just the base item. They catch up to me and they start wailing on me. So I do pop the health potion, and I'm trying to get enough for alacrity, so that way I can just run. And I do manage to get stunned, but I do have enough for alacrity now, so I'm just kind of playing a little bit aggressive, because I really want that extra, you know, card level up. So I'm just staying here with one spell in the pocket, just waiting, and there it is. And now that I have that, I am taking myself back to base because there is no reason for me to stay there any longer. And that is level 4, meaning now I take my slow projectile, which against their team is not the most helpful because they do have a lot of people with dashes and escapes like Rampage and Twin Blast. But it is going to be helpful against them if that escape goes down, which is another reason why I delayed it to level 4. There hasn't really been much of a laning phase here. It's been a lot of early team fighting, but we've been coming out on top consistently as far as that goes, so that's good for us. They're trying to take that tower down, but I wanted to apply pressure. I get caught by the Gideon, and that snare ended up hurting just a little bit. And now, with this, I'm just trying my hardest to focus on pegging Rampage here. I managed to get another bubble off, and again, this is a lot of that early team fighting. The only person who's really in lane are Iggy and Scorch and Gideon. I decided that I was going to go place a ward here since I've been a little bit negligent in my warding, so I wanted to go ahead and plant that ward down before anything ended up trying to sneak up behind us. I saw that Gideon, Iggy, and Scorch were fighting, and Gideon got caught out, and I was rotating so that way I could help shield him, and we could get a kill if possible. Now Grux is there, but he saw me and he started to back off. I managed to get the snare off. I get the slow afterward, and then I managed to land the bubble, and that's going to be enough. Another quick kill picked up. And now I do have my ultimate, but Twin Blast ended up trying to fight Gideon. So I do manage to hit him with the slow, but he manages to get a little bit farther away from me to actually hit him with anything. But Gideon already got into travel mode, so I managed to delay his travel mode long enough. And now I hit it with another slow, and this is going to be another kill picked up. So this is just a lot of very easy kills. Now, the other Gideon ended up destroying our Gideon because he decided to not go back. He went forward, and that did not go well for him. Rampage here, I was trying to wait, and I had my slow ball charged up so that I could hit Rampage with it and hopefully provide enough burst damage to take him down before he could ult. But I did hit him with the slow, and now the slow with the bot was enough to make him use his ultimate, which I was happy with, because making sure that Rampage's ultimate is down does save our team a lot of trouble. Since Rampage can be quite the troublesome opponent whenever he's in ult form, and this Rampage was not going for tank Rampage, he was going for that damage Rampage. And now I'm just sort of making my way over to right lane, trying to get behind Iggy and Scorch so we can get another kill picked up here. Now, his turrets do make it really hard to do it, to go around him in travel mode, so I didn't want to stop and take that down. Gideon already made his presence known. I threw down Alacrity. I maybe did it a little bit too early for Gideon to actually use it, and I missed my slow ball. But now we're just trying to get as close to him as possible. He's trying to duck around, but I hit him with the slow ball, and now he's just trying to get safe enough to go into travel mode. But I am not having any of that, and I'm trying to pick it up, but he ends up actually getting Orb Prime angry, and Orb Prime does the job for us. Very interesting way. I think he may have been, he either might not have noticed that Orb Prime was there, or he thought it was like Dota, where if Orb Prime killed him, we wouldn't be awarded the kill, but unfortunately that wouldn't be the case. I had not picked up a harvester yet, and I really should have earlier because our harvester control was abysmal. We only have one harvester right now, which is absolutely awful. And I actually checked their side, and they actually did not really have any harvesters either. Any harvester keys. So unless Iggy and Scorch was just dancing all around the map, since he was the only one I saw with a harvester's key, then they weren't really caring about the harvesters either. They were trying to go for kills and get pressure that way, which, as admirals that is, that's not really going to help out that much. I see the gadget's in trouble here, so that's why I'm moving over to the mid lane, because I wanted to make sure that I can apply pressure, but then I want to make sure that I get that harvester as well, because the one harvester that we have, we want to make sure we have control over it. Then seeing the gadget's okay, I'm moving over to the left lane, because I want to try and apply pressure in case they want to push any farther. I do miss the slow again, but Feng Mao is here, and he's actually going to go in, and I try and get there as fast as I can and throw out some shields for him. He does manage to pick up the alacrity. I get the slow off on Gideon, and he does manage to teleport away, but Feng Mao predicts it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough for a kill. But that is a lot of pressure that we were able to apply, and now I saw that mid lane was suffering quite a bit, so I dropped in there just to kind of apply some pressure, and Sparrow actually gets away, which is fantastic, because Sparrow probably wouldn't have been able to get away in time before Rampage would have gotten to her. Now Rampage goes extremely ham here, and I'm just sort of throwing out shields left and right, trying to give Sparrow a little bit of breathing room, and I managed to get the alacrity off just in time, and that speed boost allows Sparrow to get away a second time from Rampage. And that is the Great Escape in motion. I'm applying a couple hits to Twin Blast here, but I mostly want to take out that ward, because that ward is very troublesome. And that's a ward taken care of, and Sparrow manages to get away, which is ridiculous. And now they're all coming back mid lane, since we don't have a tower up here. We're pretty overextended. Now, I did not use my mana potion until I got hit with that rock, but I decided to hit him with that slow, just so we can kind of kite him back a little bit more. And he ends up just taking some hits, and we managed to get away with another narrow escape. I'm going to go back here. I don't really have anything to buy, but I do need mana, and that's why I decided that the next thing I was going to pick up was going to be a mana upgrade, because I really needed the mana, and I wanted to make sure that I had that so I could use my abilities a bit more often before having to go back to base. I had a lot of health. I just need to put a little bit more into my mana, so that way I could throw out some spells a little bit more effectively. Cooldown reduction and mana are things that I prioritize on Muriel, though I do know that some people prioritize it otherwise. Just because currently Muriel's shields are so strong, just making them as spammable as possible is really, really effective. Now I do see that Feng Mao's going in here, and although I was getting hit, I wanted to try and get a knockdown and help out with a kill here. Gideon is out of mana and out of time, so he's taken down. And then Grux is fighting two of our people, the Sparrow and our Gideon, behind us. So there's Iggy and Scorch, he's moving behind. I decided I was going to try and move to intercept him, because I wanted to see if I could nab him before he got away. Now Feng Mao is joining me here, and we are going to be trying to get Iggy and Scorch as quickly as possible, but he had already been in travel mode, he's too far away. Grux, on the other hand, was not, so Feng Mao ended up getting the slow off, I ended up landing a slow as well, and now he is running away, and that's going to be another kill that we just narrowly can't get, which is unfortunate. So now I'm just kind of picking up some experience and trying to make sure that I can get a little bit more as far as items are concerned, because I don't just want to finish off my Pendulum of Lords, I do want to try and pick up some more mana heavy items, since my cooldown reduction is currently pretty sizable, and I want to make sure that I can get that taken care of and get that cooldown reduction and that mana really up there, so that way I can be present for my team as much as possible. Because their team is fighting a lot in kind of like a two-pronged strategy where they're splitting up into two teams and they're just pushing in that direction. Now, for the majority of it, it's been the rest of their team and then Iggy and Scourge off to the side. But they have switched it back and forth a couple of times, and I want to make sure that I'm ready whenever they are. Now, I see that Sparrow's a little bit in danger here, so I wanted to throw that out. Since Sparrow is very immobile, I wanted to make sure that she was taken care of. And here we are just kiting back Rampage again. He actually gets the message this time and decides that it's not worth it. He does ult, but he is running out of health really, really fast, and he has to jump away. Now, we did end up getting a tower of theirs, so that's good because their tower push in the early game was really, really powerful. And now we're starting to push back. We're starting to kind of give them what for as far as the towers go because our strength is starting to show. Because when the support can manage to go 3-0 and 2, you know that the team is having a step up on the enemy. I did end up finishing off my Pendulum of Lords, and now I'm sort of just on my way, and you see it's 5-2 there. So that means that, we have a fairly sizable lead over them. It's not big in terms of numbers, but we managed to keep them down to 2 kills, and I've managed to keep people alive long enough for me to participate in every single kill, which is definitely nice. Because the more kills I'm able to participate in, the more items I can get to make sure that I can be there more often, and the harder my team gets to kill overall. Now, we end up catching Gideon out here. I predicted he was going to use his portal, and he did. And then I landed the slow on him. He didn't really have any escape there. Feng Mao completely missed his ultimate. I'm not sure where he was aiming that, but that's where his ultimate was going, I suppose. And now mid lane is had a little skirmish again, so I wanted to make sure that I was there just in case, since Grux seemed to be playing really aggressive on them. That and the fact that right lane was fighting with Gideon, Iggy, and Scorch again. They were dueling it out pretty much all game, but just in case Grux was planning on sneaking behind Gideon, which it looks like he was, I wanted to sneak behind Iggy and Scorch. Now, that didn't really work out because I saw that Grux ended up going in on it, but I do see that Gideon did ult, and Grux took a fair amount of damage from it. He tries to escape, but I use the alacrity to speed myself up here, and he's just going to ult to run away, which I thought was a little bit silly. And Gideon gets into travel mode, which is another kill picked up. Easy peasy. And now we are looking towards getting some more pressure in the mid lane, since we saw that quite a few of them were there. And I'm going to try and pick up somebody there. I should have placed a ward, but I was a little bit focused on getting Iggy and Scorch since he was at half health and mana. And he ends up trying to go into travel mode over the side, but I'm going to get a slow on him, and I'm going to just try and pelt him with as much as I can. I am alone here, so I'm just trying to do as much damage as possible, and Iggy and Scorch hits me with his ultimate, which takes me down to about half health, which isn't bad. But then I see that Feng Mao and Rampage are fighting, and now that Rampage is ulted, I'm just throwing all of my shields onto Feng Mao here, so that way he has enough pressure, and then Rampage does manage to get away, just because his ultimate does reset his pounce duration. Or his pounce cooldown, I should say. And now I'm just going to end up clearing some waves for a little bit. I do want to make sure that I do get some of those minion waves, so that way, I can get a little bit more of that if, since Feng Mao wasn't there to take it yet. Because even though supports don't really need as much farm as the carries would need, I want to make sure that I can get some wherever it's not being taken. Now, left lane was getting pushed really hard, so I picked up my Harvester's Key, my Lord's Key, and I was on my way to stop that because they were really trying to take that down. And Feng Mao was joining us as well, but they were applying quite a few resources to get this tower, so I was determined to stop them here. Now, Feng Mao does go in and get that hamstring and slow off. I speed up Feng Mao, and he ends up trying to go a little bit forward. It looks like he is trying to get into travel mode. And they managed to get into travel mode, but we are pushing them back, and that is simple. In a 3v3, they don't even try it anymore. They're just done. They're not even attempting to fight. So I'm just taking down the ward here, and there goes that. And I'm gonna try and Now that I have my key, I'm going to try and set up some harvesters. And then this is where I was noticing that they just did not have any harvester control. Their harvesters were just non-existent. And that's when I decided to look and see how many of them had harvester keys and how many of them did not. And this is kind of where it starts getting really into a skirmish setting, where it was a lot of mid lane skirmishing, and you see that Grux gets away with just a sliver of health. And I did want to try and help with that, but I was not there soon enough. And then Iggy and Scorch was pushing right lane again, so I wanted to make sure that I could assist with that. And this is kind of where that I have to try and be there as much as possible. I didn't want to ult on Gideon unless I had to, but I knew that having the ability to keep this ultimate on a low cooldown would help out quite a bit whenever it came to uh, going from one side of the map to the other to help out a team who was fighting in what may have been an unfair fight. I'm just picking up the harvester here. Now we have a lot better harvester control. We have 4 out of the 7, so that's a lot better than it was. And now it's back to mid lane since Iggy and Scorch seems to have backed off, and I'm going to try and apply more pressure here. Now this is pressure where I'm not exactly going to be the big wave clear force here, and I actually wanted to go back and get some items since it didn't seem like they needed me and I could ult back if I needed to. So I did pick up another Chrono, just because I knew I was going to pick up mana on the Lord's Key later. And I see that they backed off even with me not there. And that's something that having a Muriel on the enemy team is really going to do, is that if your enemy team has a Muriel, you naturally know that she could just pull a giant shield out of her pocket, and just teleport over there, and then more shielding. So you either have the choice of bursting them down or just trying to play it safe and bait it out early. Now I just considered to use my ultimate here, and I didn't really see that they needed it. So and then I turned to Feng Mao and saw that he was at about 10% health, and Grux does try and get away here, but I end up going into travel mode trying to chase him down. And I know that I wasn't going to catch him in travel mode, but I did want to make sure that I gave a shot to chasing after him and applying that pressure just in case he gave me an opening. But he did not, so I wanted to come around and get Iggy and Scorch instead, but he had backed off as well. So that was a lot of retreating that they just ended up doing. So now I'm off to the right side, and I'm going to try and set up another harvester, but this one they actually took. So now I'm going to just peg this down. I know that mid lane is being pushed, but I do want to make sure I do deny them what harvester energy they do have. Just because we're already ahead in terms of how many harvesters we have, it's just a matter of making sure that the harvesters they do have don't give them the resources that they're looking for. And now with that taken care of, I am on my way to mid lane, because I do want to make sure that I can help out since there's a big push going on there and we don't want to lose any tier 2s. Because they have yet to lose any tier 2s, though right lane is getting pushed really hard. So they are on the verge of losing a tier 2, but their tier 1 in middle lane is still standing. So we need to be really careful about losing more middle lane control, because our control there is even lesser. I do manage to hit Twin Blast here and get the snare. He does use his blast and or his dash, and I'm just kind of waiting there for him. And I have my slow again, but he was already dead by the time I got that up. So that works out for us pretty well. And now I'm off to left lane to try and defend that tower again, because they are trying to push, and there's Grux. He decided to say hello with his double buffs, and he's running away from the support, who's by themselves. So that just goes to show how confident he was in his ability, or the lack thereof, and how a Muriel being 4-0 and 4, even if they're a support, can be really dangerous. Now I knew I was going to take a lot of damage for this, and that's where I was trying to do as much wave clear as I could, but it was just not happening. These minions, I was glad I was able to save them from taking down the tower, but that only works for so long, and I was just now starting to take the wave down enough. The tower did take some minor damage, but that's really not bad, being able to get to that aggro before they got to the tower. because being able to take that minion aggro is really, really important for making sure that the tower stays safe, especially for someone like Muriel who can shield herself from the damage the minion wave is giving. Now, I did see that there was quite a fight going on with Sparrow here, so I wanted to get out of here. So I wanted to make sure that I got out of here as quickly as possible. Now, these shields were actually really helpful in making sure that I could stay alive, and Iggy and Scorch's ult actually helped push me away at just over 100 health. I managed to get the alacrity off, but Rampage was in travel mode, but luckily, Feng Mao's hamstring ended up slowing Rampage down just enough for me to get away and taking the attention off of me. I really wanted to help, but there wasn't really any way for me to lend my assistance with such low health and mana and hardly any potions to my name. So I just wanted to go back, get some more mana, some more maximum mana, and heal up so that way I could be there for a fight if I needed it. And it looks like we were actually surviving this fight pretty well. We didn't end up taking any casualties, which is fantastic because making sure that, especially as Muriel, if your team manages to get kills on them and your team doesn't have any casualties, that's always a good thing. Especially if you manage to put those shields on those squishy parts of your team, the Sparrows, the Gideons if they're not ulting, and the ADCs like Twin Blast or Murdoch, then you can make sure they are protected enough so that way they can get their damage off as much as possible. And that's part of the reason why Muriel is just so strong right now. Now, I'm just kind of fighting this Gideon right now, and I'm not really sure why the enemy Gideon didn't use his portal. But he got completely caught in our Gideon's ultimate, and I have no idea why he did not use his portal. I mean, he had to have had the portal up, unless he's just not ranked it at all, and he's trying to go with this like no portal Gideon build madness. But I didn't really see any reason for him not to. He had the mana, and he should have been there long enough for the cooldown to be off. I was just very confused that entire process. Now this ult was a little bit unnecessary. I probably didn't need to go save Gadget, but I just wanted to do it for the sake of making sure that Gadget didn't get caught out, because Gadget's little speed boost is not always the best thing getting away from people, especially people like Rampage. And here's where, that early game power that I've been having as Muriel, the fact that I'm 5-0-5, it's going to start tilting a lot more towards assists, since now the enemy team is bulking up and getting enough health that the damage output that I produce is just not going to be enough to take them down. And that's something that, you have to expect as support. You have pretty decent base damage to start off with, but you are really not meant to be fighting alone. And in the late game, you just do not do enough damage for you to be using your abilities for the sake of damage. For Muriel, you have to focus on heals and making sure that the slow gets put on somebody whose escape is down so that way they can get caught out. And for Decker, it's like using your crowd control to your advantage with that big slow and that stun, as well as your stasis field to make sure, or your containment field, so that way you make sure that everybody stays where they need to be. Now, the turret ended up snaring Gideon here, and I'm just trying to apply a little bit of pressure to keep Iggy and Scorch from following up on it. Now, he ends up ulting again, and I actually walked into the ult near the end of it because I wanted to get knocked back. And then I saw that in mid lane, Gadget was having a little bit of trouble with Rampage and Grux. Now, here's where I was just starting to take an enormous amount of damage from Rampage. And I'm just trying to keep Rampage off of Gadget with that threat of slows and shields that'll waste more of his time. And then I'm going to use that bubble to help clear the wave. Now I see that Gadget was starting to go back to base now, and I was pretty overextended on my own, and I'm having to bounce back and forth between the two lanes to make sure that everybody was safe. It was a little bit difficult, but and we did lose Sparrow, but I'm trying to help out as much as I can and lend shields wherever possible. Now Gideon here, was taking a lot of damage, but I just throw all of my shields on him, and it actually saves his life, and he gets away with it. Now, I try and go into travel mode here because I'm going to try and catch Grux on the other side if I can. Because I saw that Grux was incredibly low health. And I wanted to see if there was anybody that I could catch out. Not even necessarily Grux, but here's the Gideon. And I managed to miss the slow, which would have been helpful. But he has both health potion and mana potion ticking. So I figured I'd just back off. But it was worth a try. especially since Gideon is so low health, and I'm just trying to bait it out here. Now, Twin Blast went a little bit too ham here, and he paid for it with his life. He was not ready for that. He tried to jump down to get me, but he found there was a lot more damage waiting for him than you thought. Now, I did not have any shields here, so I was out of luck with that. And now I'm stuck in a duel with this Iggy and Scorch. I'm just throwing auto attacks back and forth. He's almost out of mana, but he's tossing down turrets, and I'm trying to stay out of the range of said turrets. He gets me with the oil, but does not get me with the fire. And I just start to get my abilities on him, and I'm trying to stay out of the range of these turrets and use my shields, but I'm running out of mana, and he's using his potions, trying to get some of his resources back. And he's getting really low health here, and I'm just trying to get that last bit of health of his. But unfortunately, there was nothing I could do. Now Grux is here, and he is just wailing on me. I'm on the verge of dying, and here we go. I don't have enough yet, and then I finally get enough mana for the alacrity, and I just start running away, and I get away with 105 health, which is ridiculously small. And I did not think I was going to get out of there alive, but I just had enough mana for my alacrity, and oh yeah, that was obviously 100% calculated. And now I'm going back. I'm going to try and buy real quick because I know that if they need me for anything, that I should be there as quickly as possible. Now, I was trying to see if anybody actually needed me to ult them, but it looked like they were all pretty out of range, so I decided instead I was just going to fly my way over to mid lane. And now I'm going to, I decided that instead of mid lane, I would go to right lane, because right lane was actually getting pushed, and I noticed that as I was coming out of the gate. And although I don't have the best wave clear, some wave clear is better than none, especially when it comes to saving a tower. And I'm just trying to pelt away at these creeps to get them to back off, so that way I can help out in the fight and not have to worry about it as much. Now, Gideon ended up getting a little bit of a tough situation here, but I threw all my shields on him and he managed to make that out. Though he probably could have made it out without those. So I'm just throwing out my shields. I pop my potions. I have the slow. I hit him with that. He tries to get Gideon and take him down. I get another shield off. I'm not sure if he actually got the bubble shield because he used his portal. But I get the slow here on Twin Blast. And I'm going to try and take Twin Blast out. He's stuck in between all the creeps. He is done for. And Gideon's actually still going, but he does not have enough mana or abilities to free him from there. And Rampage ends up picking up the kill on Gideon. So now I'm just trying to save Sparrow here, because I didn't realize that Sparrow was in the fight at the start. But now she's in a very good position, considering that everybody kind of used their abilities to get Gideon down. I'm just throwing out shields here. Now, she does start to back off, but I'm trying to get some mana potions popped, so she kind of just backed off near me, which is fine. And then I give her another alacrity. I don't manage to get her with the bubble, but I do manage to hit Rampage with the slow and force him to jump away. I want to get that Harvester on the left, but there's just so much action going on here. And Gadget had a very interesting slow bot, because that kind of just sat right on top of her and did nothing. But now with that, I'm going to try and move around a little bit, get a little bit of mobility going, because mid lane is pushing, right lane has been pushing and is getting pushed, and left lane is at their inhibitor. So right now at this point, I'm just trying to help keep these lanes pushed out, because now we are on the offensive. I didn't really get much of a chance to do that though, because I did not expect left lane to be meeting with as much opposition and staying there. I wanted to make sure that they got out of there, but Sparrow did. Unfortunately, Gadget did not. Gadget was not going into travel mode when she probably should have, and I was definitely running out of ways to help out Gadget. Now in this case, We do have all three lanes that are getting pushed in our favor. So I'm just trying to make sure that all the harvesters get managed. Nobody actually went for Orb Prime this game, like at all. Like he just got completely ignored. Nobody cared about Orb Prime, but that's fine. Now I'm just picking up the other harvesters here. I saw that Gideon looked like he was going back for that one, but it looked like he was actually going towards the creep wave. But this one was overflowing anyway, so I wanted to make sure that I snagged this one, just because it gave me, gives the entire team a fair amount of that card XP, which can be very, very helpful. And now I see that Sparrow is in a bit of a tough position. She's getting flanked on all sides, and I'm going to be trying my best to keep her alive here. I go ahead and slam down. I get 2 knockups. I give her the shield and the alacrity, and I manage to miss the slow when there were 4 people to hit, which is kind of unfortunate. I put another shield on myself here, and I give Feng Mao a speed buff, although it was a speed buff while he was snared, so probably not the best idea. Twin Blast ends up going down, and now we just have to deal with the likes of Gideon and Iggy and Scorch. It looks like Iggy did go down as well, so now it's just a matter of getting there goes the Gideon. So that's 3 people down. That's going to be some serious pushing in our favor. And I see that Gadget here is trying to take out some minions, and I wanted to lend my assistance here. I don't have the most damage, but I managed to shield her so she didn't have to take minion aggro that she would otherwise not need to. Grux does look like he's dancing around on the side here, so I decided to place some wards on either side. And here we are taking the mid tier 2. Now, we are getting quite a lot of damage in on the tower, and I wanted to see if we could get that tower. Now, Grux does not really have the damage right now to be able to do anything, and I scared him off by showing that I knew where he was. So, I try and get a little bit of damage off, and I shield myself here, and I take an immense amount of damage, but I actually managed to get out of there alive, and we get the tower. So, now that was actually pretty worthwhile. And now with that taken care of, I am just going to go into travel mode here. Well, I tried to go into travel mode, and then I decided I was just going to back. Because I had no potions whatsoever, and I was not going to survive a fight very long. Good thing is that left lane was being pushed at the same time, and I was able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Go back and regenerate, while also stopping Grux from trying to take an inhibitor while we chunked theirs. Now he does have quite a sizable wave here, but again, Grux is not really playing that aggressive against just a support that's there. Now, obviously, he could just be playing defensive because he knows more people could be coming, but that Grux was extremely defensive for someone who's usually a very offensive, aggressive character. I'm going to pick up the Harvester here now that Feng Mao is clearing those waves. And we did not get the inhibitor, but now 2 of their inhibitors are about half health, which is very good for us, because if we can manage to take those 2 inhibitors down, that means that right lane becomes the last bastion of their defense before we can just go straight for the core. And we could go straight for the core with just 2 inhibitors down, but having all 3 inhibitors down makes it so on its own, they have to devote a large amount of their resources to get anywhere as far as pushing those super creeps back. Now, I do manage to sneak up a little bit on Twin Blast here. Now he tries to drop down, and Feng Mao pays him a little bit of a visit, and his damage just destroys Twin Blast. Like, he had no chance. I did not want the black buff, so I went ahead and let Feng Mao take that, and now I'm trying to get to Grux, but he already got into travel mode, so I'm attempting to cut him off a little bit here, but it's not really going to pan out, just because Grux was already in travel mode, and he was going the streamline direction, and here I was trying to be sneaky. I'm not really sure how a robot angel healer is sneaky, but I'd figure it out. Now, I did walk over, and they would have been able to see me there, though I did kind of want that they didn't really react to me, so presumably they had very little idea that I was actually there. I'm starting to take down these turrets, and then I just run straight through. And that was an extremely dangerous decision, but my team was there to help back me up. And now Iggy and Scorch is in a pretty tough position. I get behind him so that way he does not knock me back. I try and get the shield onto Feng Mao, but he ends up teleporting away. Then I just cancel it out, and we continue to push our way on left lane. Now, left lane, the reason why it's good that we take the left lane inhibitor first is mainly because uh, then we can just move over to the middle lane. I think that taking the peripheral inhibitors is still really important compared to the middle one, and that's mostly because of the fact that if you take the left one, then they have a longer way to go before they can get to the right lane. From our perspective, at least. For them, left is the one that is still full health. So we're going to take that inhibitor down easy peasy with the amount of damage that we have. And now we're going to try and take down the middle one as well. I wanted to try and get some creeps here, and I run into Grux and Twin Blast. I just run into the entire party here. So I just panic ult away just so I could get away from that. And I managed to get away, so that was pretty helpful. I decided to take a little bit of farm for myself, which did give me that level up that I needed. Sparrow did end up dying, which is unfortunate, but I had to make sure that I lived as well. And now I'm just sort of taking and getting an Elder Mage Amulet so that way I can get some more bulk. And you see that I have a good 3,700 health right now. I have a very large amount of health for a support, so I'm able to take a lot of hits and keep my healing out as long as possible. Because the way I like to build Muriel is not building her in a bursty healer type of way, more so that sustained healer that's extremely hard to take out of the fight. Now, with left lane taken down, that means that they're going to have to dedicate some focus and time to left lane, and it looks like they are. So, with Feng Mao pushing the right lane, I'm going to push up the middle lane and try and apply some pressure there, so that way they either have to split their forces and make it pretty easy to deal with, or they have to suffer losing another inhibitor. And here's Iggy and Scorch right on cue. I managed to slow him a little bit, and I'm just trying to apply some pressure just in case he was thinking about stopping right lane, though right lane was already taken down. So I'm just kind of being a general nuisance to Iggy and Scorch since he doesn't really have the damage to stop me. And then to make sure that there wasn't any risk of fatality here, I do protect Feng Mao, and now I'm adamant on getting that middle lane taken care of. Because even with Iggy and Scorch's extremely reputable wave clear, they still weren't able to outright push the wave. They didn't end up staying in lane long enough to make sure that it was pushed. So now I'm focused on getting mid lane tilted toward pushing again, so that way we can get that last inhibitor. Because with that last inhibitor, it's going to be extremely hard for them to fight us anyway, and fighting us with those super creeps is going to be nigh impossible. So with that mid lane pusher, there's a Twin Blast trying to protect it here. I'm going to try and see if I can get a snare off on him, just so we can have that pick. Now, Sparrow does manage to chunk Iggy and Scorch fairly well, but she does not follow up enough to actually continue and get that kill. And here I am throwing out all of my abilities, trying to get Iggy and Scorch low. And here goes Gideon with his ultimate. And even though he was shielded, I wanted to make sure that I gave him that extra insurance. And although he did teleport out very quickly afterward, I wanted to make sure. Now, I do manage to lead the Twin Blast here and get that slow, and he does dash away, but that is the third inhibitor, and we are actually coming to the conclusion of this game. And you see, I am 7-0-14 right now as Muriel, which is definitely not shabby for a support. Muriel's healing and shielding is really strong right now, and I have a feeling that at some point in the near future they are going to lower that. Couldn't save Sparrow there, I was not paying attention. But compared to Decker, Decker is very much a crowd control heavy support, while Muriel is a heal and presence heavy one. Decker is very good at singling people out from the fight and making sure that she can manipulate what's going on, but Muriel is very good at adapting to the situation because everybody always needs health to be alive. So making sure that everybody does have that amount of health is really, really important. And with those extra assists, we are going to end the game here. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I am going to try now that my audio is slowly getting fixed. It was bugging out a little bit on this one as well. That I'll be trying to record whilst or cast while I record, so that way we can try it out that way. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to tell me down in the comments below. You can like, you can subscribe, you can do all that fancy stuff, and check out those social media links if you'd like. And tell me what you want to see next week, if you want it to be Paragon or something different, who you want to see. Thanks so much for your time, guys, and you have a fantastic day.